one more example. Three very bad things happened here. First of all, the technology bubble ended. You had the Ketan Parekh scam and the terrorist attack of 9/11. 11th of February, we had this figure. 21st of September 2001, we had this figure. The fall was 56%. And now coming to our present situation of the global financial crisis. 8th of January, 20,873. 9th March, 8,160. 60.91%. The second worst fall in the history of the stock markets. If you want to learn a lesson from this, the lesson is generally the worst falls, not the ordinary falls, the worst falls do not exceed 50% by much. Can go to 54, 56, okay, even 60. But if you want to know, just for your information, which was the worst ever fall, this was the worst ever fall, the Great Depression. 3rd September 1929, when it was 381, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, 381. 8th of July 1932, 41. And the percentage was 89%. And the markets survived this. But in the modern era, our worst falls, if you're 50%, you're very lucky because you can buy very good stocks. And even this global financial crisis, 60, 61% for Indian stock markets. So, what do we learn from this? JP Morgan, one of the better financial minds of the last century, says this: bear markets are when stocks are restored to their rightful owners. If somebody is buying stocks when everybody else is saying the markets are going to close, that person is a rightful owner of stocks. This is a beautiful saying. So coming back to the margin of safety, what is my thumb rule for margin of safety? PE ratios of the popular indices must be 20 or less. Why 20 or less? Generally highs are 30, lows are 10, 20 is a midpoint. You get some discount. Popular indices must be at least 25% below their last peak. Okay, why 25% below their last peak? Generally the major falls are 50%. Take at least half of that. You need not wait till 50%. You may or may not achieve it. So if we look at the current situation, what happened on Friday, you have the PE ratio of the sensitive index at 21.75, above the margin of safety level. You have the PE ratio of the Nifty at 23.21, even further above this 20 mark. The percentage change in the Sensex is only 14.09% away from its peak. I want at least 25% before I'll commit lump sums. And Nifty is about 14.73. So if you ask me now to time the market, I will say I will not advise lump sum investments into the stock market now. There is no margin of safety. But if the margin of safety exists, please go ahead with building diversified portfolios, even by lump sum investments. But if the margin does not exist, go for things like systematic transfer plans. I'm not saying don't invest in equity. To that extent, I'm with John Templeton. Time to invest is now, when you have the money. But it should be much more controlled. Why? You can control risk. You can control risk. Be very, very aware of that. So if the margin of safety does not exist, lump sum investments can also be considered. If you have got some good asset allocation fund, I've given you one fund there, please read about it, don't go blindly into it. You can also choose some asset allocation funds which generally have a habit of investing more into equity when the markets are lower. Now there is one exception to the margin of safety rule. And what is that exception? The exception is any investor who has a long-term systematic investment plan in an equity or equity mutual fund need not follow the margin of safety, provided the investment is continued uninterrupted for at least 5 years. Today there is no margin of safety. You are starting an SIP today. You are going to continue this SIP for at least 5 years. Go ahead. Don't bother about the margin of safety. It's only for lump sum investments that you are committing into the stock market. You must take some trouble to equip yourself with basic knowledge about investment. A lot of people have said this. I'm quoting Benjamin Graham. The investor's chief problem and even his worst enemy is likely to be himself. Don't blame the market. Blame yourself. I never blame the market. I lost in real estate. It is because of what I did. It's not the real estate market that is good or bad. I lost in the stock market, not the stock market. I did something wrong. Never expect an investment advisor to take greater interest in your money than you yourself have a duty to take. This should be stuffed into an investor's brain. No investment advisor, starting with me, is going to take more interest in your money. You take it so you get some knowledge about investment. Don't think we know everything. Nobody does. John Templeton says it beautifully. An investor who has all the answers doesn't even understand all any of the questions. Investing at the personal level is simple, but not easy. What is not easy? Not easy is investing in a disciplined way. I start an SIP, 6 months later I stop it. There is no money in my bank account. I forget to renew the SIP. That is the not easy part. Investing is simple. Investing is simple. There seems to be some perverse human characteristic that likes to make easy things difficult. And we are mainly responsible for it. Financial advisors. We try to make it difficult because we don't want to tell you that these things are easy. Very few people will tell you that these things are easy. The more difficult we make it, the more we think that you will depend on us for everything. You should not. You should depend only on yourself. You can't study medicine on your own. You can't study engineering on your own. You can study personal investment on your own. You cannot tomorrow be qualified to write the Indian Union budget. You cannot handle the affairs of the World Bank. For that you may need your PhD in finance and experience. Personal investment, you need none of them. You need common sense, a little discipline. If you do not do that, this is what is going to happen with you. When a person with experience meets a person with money, the person with experience gets the money, and the person with money gets the experience. I sincerely hope that none of you here will ever meet with this fate. So do yourself a favor, start a program of regular reading. Somewhere in your list of papers there, we have given you a list of recommended books. Please try to read at least one or two of them. Each one of them is an investment classic. Somebody made a point here that very few good books on investment have been ever written. Some of the best books have been recommended to you in a separate piece of paper, recommended reading, I think it's called. Please do that. And I come to my final point. Understand one thing. I told you it is simple. It is absolutely not necessary to do extraordinary things to get extraordinary results. Warren Buffett has said this. It is not necessary to do extraordinary things to get extraordinary results. So let me give you a simple change. A lot of people say we don't have the money to invest. Let us start with trying to implement this thing. This is what we do. We earn income, we have expenditure. If income is more than expenditure, we save something. If expenditure is more than income, we save nothing. Change from this to this equation. Income minus savings is expenditure. I earn 30,000. I've decided I'm going to save 3,000. The moment the 30,000 is in my account, first 3,000 goes into a savings. I spend the rest of my month's expenses from what remains. That's the 27,000 that remains. You do this. It sounds very simple, but this is one of the most important first steps that people can take who say we don't have the money. Let me give you one example of the power of sustained investment. These figures are as of 31st March 2010. I have taken a fund called the Franklin India Prima from Franklin Templeton, not because Templeton is better or worse than the other mutual funds, not because I'm recommending it. Actually, this would not be my first fund at all because this is a small and mid-cap fund. I have taken it simply